Today we will learn and reflect on the chapter in the book by Dr. Laura and her rabbi on the commandment, do not slander. A little over a decade ago, Dr. Laura had a morning national radio show for married moms who stayed at home to take care of their kids. She's unique. When anybody complains about their marriage, she actually suggests that maybe their marriage will improve if they first be nice and act like a loving spouse to their husband. Of course, this doesn't always work, and especially if there's physical abuse, which should never be tolerated, but this is certainly a solution that everyone should try. And this book has much practical advice on how to live a godly life in the modern world from observations by Dr. Laura and her viewers, and the moral teachings by her Rabbi Stewart Vogel. At the end of our talk, we will discuss the sources we use for this video. Please, we welcome interesting questions in the comments. Sometimes these generate short videos of their own. Let us learn and reflect together. Dr. Laura bemoans how the tangled web of lies we weave drag us down. How, as Dr. Laura puts it, people expect politicians and lawyers and lobbyists and advocates and journalists and talk show hosts and anyone else in the public view, we expect that they'll lie if it serves their purpose. Even when the often malicious gossip that they spread to millions of viewers has an element of truth, these celebrities can totally destroy someone's reputation and even their life sometimes. Indeed, Dr. Laura opines that our accepting of this twisting of the truth leads to the disappearance of common social courtesies, to the prevalence of vulgar and vicious radio and TV programming, from disrespect for traditional sexual and marital mores, to the ever-growing cynicism about the potential of goodness to survive anywhere. Dr. Laura bemoans how commonly people give false testimony to win their case in court. We think that if we suffer no immediate consequences, like lightning bolts out of the sky, that nobody notices our lying, that it is quite okay. And Dr. Laura says that Americans tend to assume that whatever deficiencies our system has, they are largely or not a result of corruption, but rather due to judges and juries who are too soft, or racial prejudice, or insufficient concerns for the rights of victims. And it is remarkable that we can be proud of our judicial system in spite of how often we all lie under oath. Now, lies can kill. Dr. Laura recounts these haunting words. The broad mass of a nation will more easily fall victim to a big lie than to a small one. And these haunting words were spoken so many years ago by an acolyte of Adolf Hitler. Hitler convinced the German people that the Jews helped them lose the First World War, that the Jews were responsible for all the social and economic difficulties of their time. Now today, Trump tried to convince us that we needed to build a wall that Mexico would pay for to keep out the hordes of M16 gang members that threatened to invade our nation. And Dr. Laura points out that Hitler, by constantly distinguishing between the superior Aryan race and the Jews and other desirables, Hitler convinced many Germans of their manifest destiny. We fall into this same trap when we talk of restricting immigration from shithole countries. What Dr. Laura does not point out is the close links between the Nazi legal system and the Jim Crow system of segregation in the Deep South. Also, the system of eugenics, which had many proponents in California back in the day, justified both the persecution of the Jews in Nazi Germany and the subjugation of the Negroes in the Jim Crow Deep South. When Nazi politicians drafted laws subjugating the Jews, they used the Jim Crow legal system as a guide. However, lies can sometimes save lives, and this sounds surprising. But we only need to think of Oskar Schindler in World War II, who lied constantly to the Nazis to save as many Jewish lives working in his factories as possible, factories he bought as a front with money provided by wealthy Jews. Dr. Laura and her rabbi cites several Old Testament stories where lying was condoned. Indeed, some where God himself bent the truth to avoid hurting his people unnecessarily. One famous Bible story when lying saved lives is the story of the Pharaoh in Egypt who ordered the midwives to murder all the sons born to Israelite mothers. As is told in Exodus, the midwives, fearing God, did not do as the king of Egypt had told them. They let the boys live. This made the Pharaoh angry. He had these midwives brought before them, and they lied to Pharaoh, saying, "The Hebrew women are not like the Egyptian women. They are vigorous. Before the midwife can come, they have already given birth." So liars are usually wrong, but liars are not always wrong, and how can we make sense of this? We only need to think like Jesus. The law and the prophets can be summed up by the primary commandments. Love God with all of your heart, and with all of your soul, and with all of your strength, and with all of your mind, really all of your all, and love your neighbor as yourself. Thus, the commandment is not, you shall not lie, but rather, you shall not bear false witness. But we should be reluctant to lie, as God is truth as much as he is love. But our primary responsibility is to protect the reputation of our neighbor, and to protect his health and well-being in his life. Another famous example from Scripture is when God repeats to Abraham what his wife Sarah said, not exactly as she said it, but rephrased in a manner that respects the dignity of Abraham. When told that she would have a son, Sarah asked God, "Now that I am withered, am I to have enjoyment with my husband who's so old?" But when God tells Abraham he will have a son, he didn't want to repeat that Sarah thought he was old. Instead, God repeats Sarah as saying, "Why did Sarah laugh, saying, 'Shall I in truth bear a child, old as I am?'" When God tells the prophet Samuel to find someone to anoint as king to replace King Saul, Samuel asks what he should tell King Saul, since if he tells him the truth, Samuel will be executed by Saul. God tells Samuel to say instead that he should take a heifer with him so he can tell Saul that he's going to sacrifice to the Lord. And the book of Proverbs reminds us how God hates those who maliciously slander their neighbor. We are reminded that the Lord hates a lying tongue, and that lying lips are an abomination to the Lord. And many of the Psalms cry out to the Lord over the agony caused by gossip and slander. In the last dozen pages of her chapter, Dr. Laura tells us the lessons she has drawn from her experiences in her many discussions with her listeners. To many who call in wanting her permission to blow the whistle on suspected affairs or abuse or alcoholism, she challenges, "Are you absolutely sure about being so eager to destroy someone's life if you are wrong? When is flattery okay? Should you really tell your kids your mistakes when you were a kid? Should we listen to the late-night comics? Do they cross a line into slander and gossip to generate cheap humor? Should we tell the truth even when it costs us thousands of dollars, like when we sell our house? And are white lies okay?" As Dr. Laura and her rabbi reminds us, lying and gossiping are worse than stealing, because a thief only steals our stuff, and a liar and gossiper both create injustice and misery. The liar and gossiper hurts his neighbor, and the liar and gossiper also stab themselves by behaving like vicious talking beasts. Now we'll discuss the sources we use for this video. Dr. Laura's book on the Ten Commandments is surprisingly helpful. Which is surprising because, for me, her competition is not books from the like of Dr. Phil and Oprah and Joel Osteen, but her competition is rather the church fathers, the Greco-Roman moral philosophers, and preachers and scholars over the age. And why do I think so? First, she has the humility to co-author the book with Rabbi Stewart Vogel. Plus, she has many great observations from the many years that she did her call-in counseling show on the radio and now the internet, and so that gives her a unique perspective. And although her main audience is stay-at-home moms, I enjoy popping over to her website from time to listen to a few interesting calls. The YouTube description links to the video script and our blog. Please support our channel by sharing this video with your friends and by clicking on the like and subscribe buttons, and by clicking on the Amazon links to purchase any of the books we discussed, which will earn us a small affiliate commission. And please consider becoming a patron of our channel. And please click on the links for interesting videos on other topics that will broaden your knowledge and improve your soul. Thank you.